Hi, everybody. I hope everybody can hear me. Those on Facebook, I wonder if you could let me know if there's enough volume for you. Those who are on YouTube, I hope there is enough volume for you to hear me. There should be a chat. You can reach out to me. And get my papers together. I thought I had them here. Here we go. And I have a thumbs up. Great, great. Hey, hi everyone. Welcome to a live broadcast. And today I want to be talking about myths about our family of origin. Myths of doing family of origin work. And I wanted to present that today. I do want to do a little bit of housekeeping here and make a few comments. We are going to have question and answer today. If you have some questions you'd like to ask, you might hold off for just a second. Let me get a few things going. I appreciate everybody's comments. It's so kind of you to join me today. I hope that you will subscribe to my YouTube channel. If you're on Facebook, you'll have to go over to YouTube to do that. And I hope you will join the YouTube membership I have on YouTube. Very inexpensive. It's like $1.99, something like that. And it's very inexpensive, and you get to watch all the exclusive content and some other benefits. Just click join up next by the subscribe button, but you can't do that on a mobile app. You have to do that on a browser if you look up YouTube. Today we're also going to have asking folks to make some donations today. The reason I ask for donations is so that I can continue to do free videos up on YouTube. It takes hours to do those videos, and it's really helpful if people are supportive of the work that I do. This is a way you can say thank you to me and also help us to produce those, because that takes time, energy, effort, work, and I know there's a lot of people who've said they've wanted to donate. Just click the donate button on there. If you can't find the donate button and you're not sure how to do that, then you can go to my PayPal using my address, my first two letters of my name, JW Learning @hotmail.com on PayPal. Also, I'd like to ask those who are joining if you'd like to put in an RSVP for an upcoming workshop. That date is to be announced, but you could still put in your RSVP for that. And it's going to be reducing reactivity. And I'm going to specifically focus on reducing reactivity. We're going to be doing some role plays that people really enjoyed at the last workshop that I gave. And that workshop will also be available to you. The previous workshop is up on my website, and you're able to rent it or purchase it on my website. It was a 4-hour workshop, and there was a lot of information and training done during that time. I also have a new video coming out. It's going to be entitled like Traits That Set Us Up for Narcissistic Abuse. And I would like you to look for that. That should be coming out very soon. I think I'll have like about 15 traits. And it was I got some help from Melanie Tanya Evans and her great book on narcissistic abuse. And then today we're going to be having question and answer as well. So prepare any questions you might have for me to answer. And you can make them hard questions, just not long questions. It's kind of hard to do the long questions. And I know sometimes it's hard not to put all the context on there, but if you can offer me a short question, I'd be happy to try to answer that today. Let's see, I think that about covers all the business items I wanted to talk about. I would like to ask you if you'd like to ask any questions today. All you have to do is write in the chat, capital, in all caps, question, and then follow with your question. And then those who are helping me with the broadcast today can take a look at those and get those to me so that I can answer those for you. We are working very hard. We're getting those subscribers up. I think we've got like 39,300 people or so. And on our subscriber list, is that correct? 39,300 and some. And we'd like to get that up to 50,000. The more subscribers you have, the more you can do on YouTube, the more opportunities there are to you on YouTube to get the message out. I've been trying to get this message out for many, many years and wanted people to know that there's a way to help them in maybe ways they hadn't thought of before, even if they've been to therapy or group therapy or coaching. That I really hope that this message does get out to folks. The topic today is myths about family of origin work. A lot of people ask me many times about family of origin work, and they want to know, what is that all about? And does that mean this? Does that mean that? They have a lot of fears. They have a lot of concerns about doing family of origin work. And if they have a touchy, reactive, or dysfunctional family, many times we're not all that interested in doing family of origin work. We just want to get away from them. And I think that there are some other ways to deal with that so that we can heal and grow. Because family of origin work is about growing ourselves up. And growing ourselves up in the family is very important for growing ourselves up as adults. Even if we already are adults, that's a key place that we can really begin to work on growing ourselves. So, first of all, one of the myths that is common people will be concerned about will be, well, does family of origin work mean that it requires me or requires changing my family? That's one of the concerns they have. And oftentimes we have spent years trying to change our family in how we behave, how we comply, how we resist, if we cut off, if we're reactive. We're trying to change our family of origin. And that hasn't worked. For family of origin work, the purpose is not for you to change your family. There may be a hidden benefit and a side benefit of your family changing, but we're not doing family of origin work for the purpose of changing them. And so I'm going to talk more about what that means later. Please be sure to touch that donate button to help today with making videos. Number 2, family of origin work requires standing up to my family. Well, many of us have spent time trying to confront our family, stand up to our family, but often we have done it in reactive ways. And this hasn't worked very well. And so that's been one of the problems that we've come into, that, well, if I do family of origin work, I've already stood up to my family, and it hasn't done any good. They haven't changed. I've just felt frustrated, and so I've just kind of given up. And many times we will just give up on our family of origin or doing anything with them because it's been so frustrating and it hasn't resulted in anything much positive for us. And I believe there are ways in which we can make a positive change for ourselves in our family of origin and doing family of origin work. Another myth is that we must be totally vulnerable to my family to do family of origin work. We don't have to be totally vulnerable. In fact, we probably already are vulnerable to our family of origin work. We're already too vulnerable to our family of origin, which is why it makes it so hard to do that work with them. And there's kind of a no contact family of origin work and a one-on-one contact family of origin work, meaning we can work on our family of origin by talking about them with a coach, a therapist, or we can also continue that family of origin work by working and beginning to relate to our family differently, face to face. And so those are two dynamics of this family of origin work. Oftentimes I have found folks end up with just spending time in therapy sessions just talking about their family of origin, and they just recycle their family of origin problems within their therapy session or within a counseling session or a coaching session. And they just recount it over and over and over, and maybe spend months or years trying to do that, and it doesn't get them very far. Many times they talk about family of origin issues with counselors, therapists, helpers, pastors, and the pastor, the therapist, or the coach may not be very knowledgeable about family of origin work, or maybe have not even done their own family of origin work. And if you haven't done your own family of origin work, it's very difficult to help someone else to do it. I don't ask my clients to do things I haven't had to work on myself. It's much more powerful if you have done some of the work and you know the difficulties and you understand that, and you've also seen the benefits of that. So we don't have to be totally vulnerable. And in fact, I think doing family of origin work, we actually can work on being more detached and less vulnerable to our family of origin when we do that work with them or about them. Another myth that's out there is that means we must tell them the truth about everything and anything. That's a myth as well. Family of origin work is not about going and lifting the skirt of the family or being the person who drops the emotional bomb or truth bomb in the family and expect everyone to just change as a result of that. Often it doesn't change them, it just entrenches them more, and then we end up becoming the scapegoat if we're the truth teller. Now, I'm going to talk about truth telling also. There is a place for us to share ourselves and to self-differentiate and declare ourselves, but that's not the same as I'm going to tell you all about you, and I'm going to tell you all about what's wrong with you. That's not a good technique for family of origin work. You've probably already tried that to no avail. So it's not about just telling them the truth about everything. Fifthly, another myth. We must learn to be best friends with our family of origin. So if I do family of origin work, then that means, Jerry, I need to go and I'm going to be best friends with everybody, or I'm going to be close to everybody. Well, not everybody in your family may want to be close. Everybody in your family may not even have the capacity to be close or to be intimate. So for us to have that expectation, it may be a fantasy. And so it's not about just becoming best friends with everybody in our family. It's about me growing up in the family, not about me becoming a mutual, respected, warm relationship with everybody in the family. That's often very difficult to attain for most families. The good news is that's okay. You don't have to be best friends with everyone in your family to do your family of origin work and to grow up as an adult in your family. Sixth, we must take on their values and their beliefs. If I go back and do family of origin work, then I must accept the way they see everything. Well, you may need to accept the way they see things, but that doesn't mean that's the way you see things. But you may have to accept that's the way they see things. And by the way, I will mention, I'm not talking about your malignant narcissistic family members. I'm not talking about abusive family members. That's not who I'm talking about today. I'm talking about good old dysfunctional neurotic families is who I'm talking about today. And who have those problems and those reactivities, but not someone who is so toxic that it is difficult to even be near them or close to them. Those are for other videos. This is about the good old neurotic families. And neurosis just simply means they have old issues they haven't resolved. That's different than something having severe personality disorders, bipolar, schizophrenia, all those kinds of things. That's a whole nother video. And so that myth of I have to accept my family's values and beliefs and take them on as my own is what I meant to say as a myth. You don't have to take them on as your own. However, you may need to accept that's the way they see things, because if you can accept that's the way they see things, you will then adjust yourself to that. If I don't accept that, then I'll continue to try to change them. I'll continue to try to perfect them, to get them to see my perspective. And that often does not work. And that's not family of origin work anyway. That's reactive family of origin process. And then second of all, I have a lot of people who are concerned about doing family of origin work, and they will say, well, then does that mean relating to my family of origin? Doesn't that mean I condone their behavior? No, it doesn't mean you condone it. You're not, just because you accept them doesn't mean you agree with them. I can accept that somebody believes the moon is made of green cheese, but that doesn't mean I condone it or think it's a good belief to have. But I can accept that's what they believe. I don't know why they believe it. I don't know why they think that's true. So I can accept it without it being taken, or I take it on. I don't have to take that on. And I can accept, but then I know every time I talk about the moon, I'm going to be talking about craters in the moon and different things like that, and they're going to be talking about the green cheese. That's what's going to be happening, and I have to accept that. And so we're going to be limited in what we're going to be able to talk about. And maybe the moon should not be one of the topics we talk about. And in fact, I have also, in family of origin work, advised people, for myself and others, that if there are topics that are off, should be off limits, that we make those topics off limits. I even remember with my own mother making my haircuts off limits. I don't want to talk about my haircuts or how long my hair is or short it is or when it should get cut. It's not going to be one of our topics because I don't feel the same way about it that my mother did. And so, or whether it be my brother's view of foreign cars or US cars, if we have difference of opinion, then there's no sense we even need to talk about that. It's not important. We can still have a relationship without talking about whether a car is foreign or domestic. And so we don't have to take on their values. We may need to have to come to accept their values, and if a family member believes you are the biggest troublemaker, all you do is cause problems, everything you do is wrong, well, then we have to accept that. But that may mean I may then have to step back from our relationship. How can I have a close relationship with someone who believes that about me? And one of the one of the things you might consider is to consider a friendship. If you had a friendship like that, is that something you would keep? Is that someone you would keep as a friend who believes you're evil, a troublemaker, always causing problems? You probably kind of go, this is probably not the friend for me. Well, this may not be the family member for me. Again, it doesn't mean I can't love them, I can't accept them, but boy, it's going to limit our relationship considerably because of their thoughts, beliefs, and actions. And I'm okay with limiting that access to me and me to them. That's okay. That doesn't mean I'm rejecting them or cutting off, or it just means I'm just acknowledging the reality of our relationship. And they are putting me at arm's length. Well, I'm going to accept the arm's length and continue on with my life. I hope that you will continue to, support the work that I'm doing. There should be a donate button, and I hope that you will use that today. Those of you who love my videos and love what I've been putting out, and I put out a couple recent videos, the Christian Codependent or the Codependent Christian. I've also put out some other interviews, and especially the interview I had with Yitz Goldberg, in which we talked about self-differentiation and trying to get more information out there. Those take hours to prepare those and to do those. And any support you can show today, whether it be $1 or $1 million, would be greatly appreciated. If you have any questions, I'd like for you to write a capital question and then write the question after that. And we'll see if we can answer some questions today as well. Continuing on with the myths about family of origin work. Doing family of origin work means I'm finally giving in to my family of origin. Well, self-differentiation work is not about giving in to your family of origin. It is about accepting where your family is at and living and acting accordingly. And again, if they are more warm, if they're more workable with you, then you can have that relationship. If they are not, then I would want to have more distance in that relationship and more detachment. And I think family of origin work is about detachment. It's not about rejection. It's not about no contact. There is a place for no contact, but that's for another video. This is for families that don't require a no contact experience. That we want to learn to detach. And in fact, I've talked to people and tried to help them understand, is the family of origin problem you're having now, does it require more self-differentiation or does it require no contact? And many times they're uncertain as to which they need to do. Some people who just need more self-differentiation because they're not detached feel like they need to go no contact. And they may not need to if they're able to do more detachment and self-differentiation work and defining themselves and being impacted less by their family of origin. Another myth, which is common about family of origin work, is I don't need my family of origin to get healthier. How could they possibly help me as an adult? Because I'm an adult now. And I think many times people will reject family of origin work because they see no connection between their adult life and their family of origin life. Actually, there's quite a bit of a connection between the two. That's where we were imprinted. That's where we learned what relationships were like. That's where we learned what our higher power was like, what God was like, what authority is like, what intimacy is like, how you deal with finances, how we deal with self-acceptance and self-love. All of those things were trained and learned back when we were growing up in our family of origin, and it extends into our adulthood as well. And as I've said so many times, our family of origin is still within us. So family of origin work is dealing with that family of origin that's within us and hopefully growing them out of us is what we want to do. And I've read in some books and heard some great authors talk about it's not about getting you out of your family. It's about getting your family out of you. That's the work of family of origin. Now, some people need to get them out of their family of origin. Again, if there's so much toxicity, malignant narcissists, etc. And I think I've got a question here. I think some folks are sending in some questions. And if you send in a question, I hope you'll give a little donation for me to answer. I appreciate that. And again, it is PayPal, jwlearning@hotmail.com, or you have a donate button up there. What do you do if you are ghosted or are not receiving a response to your correspondence? I assume that's from your family of origin, is one question that I have. And I think that's a very good question. If your family of origin is cutting off from you, that does not damage our sense of self or self-esteem or self-differentiation. We may feel some hurt, we may feel some sadness that they have cut off from us, but it's not the same thing as you cutting off from them out of immaturity, fear, hurt, and those kinds of things. And if we are ghosted by our family of origin, what I usually like to do, if I'm ghosted, meaning they just won't respond to me in text, emails, whatever, then I might write a letter and say, I would like to have a relationship or an adult relationship with you. Whenever I have reached out, I have not gotten any response from you. And that I feel sad that that's the case. If that's how you choose and what you want in terms of our relationship, then I will have to accept that. But I hope that at some time in the future, you might be open to a relationship or having a relationship with me. And at that point, you've done as much as you can do. And then you can go to a coach or a therapist to deal with the residual feelings that are left from that. Because I think some families do just not communicate and with other family members. Or they will selectively not communicate with certain family members. And all you can do is think of, well, what would my neighbor, or what would Betty do if this were happening to her? She might write a letter saying, this is what I want, this is what I've observed. If this is what you want to do, then I will accept that, but I do feel sad and I wish it were not the case. That's the most power that you have. You also can say, if there's anything I've done to offend you, you can let me know. I can't think of anything, but if you have been upset about something, I'd be willing to talk with you about that. So you've made yourself as open as you can be without groveling, without begging. You're being adult with them is what we want to do. We want to be adult with our family of origin. The bad news is families of origin can be dysfunctional, toxic at times, immature, very reactive. Families can be all those things. And that can make it difficult to have a smooth or relaxed or calm relationship with them, for sure. The bad news is that we do have family of origins that are unhealthy. And in fact, I saw a quote recently, I think it was on Facebook, and it said a dysfunctional family includes one person greater than one in it. And I think there are a lot of dysfunctional families out there. And so if we are ghosted by them, the bad news is we don't have that close Norman Rockwell, everything's going well family that we'd all dream and like to have. The good news is you can be a healthy, normal, and happy adult without your family of origin. It isn't required to be an adult. I assume when you get older, like me, and if you lose everyone in your family, I still have to be a happy, normal, healthy adult, whether they're all living or not living, or whether they're here or not here. So we can work on ourselves regardless of what family of origin, how they behave and how they process things. Let me get my glasses on here. One question that I have here, and thank you for your donations. I hope you will continue to make donations to Jerry Wise Relationship Systems to help so I can do more videos on YouTube. You can press the donate button, or you can send a donation to PayPal at jwlearning@hotmail.com. Question: why does accepting the differences of values feel so terrifying? I feel fear when thinking differently, and I start panicking. And panicking that I'm going to lose the relationship just by feeling different. I think that's an excellent example of systems feelings. We're supposed to feel guilty. We're supposed to feel panicky. We're supposed to feel like we're going to be left or abandoned if we feel or believe something differently than our family of origin. We're supposed to be partaking of the big family super self. And we're supposed to all agree on the same things. There may be little tolerance in your family for disagreements. I remember one client that I had, her family, I believe they were wealthy, and her parents were wealthy, and they would purchase every year sweaters and outfits for everyone, including all the children, all the grandchildren, to wear the same clothing so they could take a group picture. My client didn't want to do that, and she's the daughter. And now what's going to happen? She's messing up the whole family pictures, family picture that they've done for years and years. But she doesn't want to get dressed up. Her husband doesn't want to do that. Her kids don't want to do that. Now what do? She came and talked to her mom about, hey, I'll be happy to be in the picture, though I don't choose to wear the sweaters and the outfits and all of that. We don't want to, and I don't choose to. If you'd like us to be in the picture, we will. If you don't, then we won't. And that's fine. Now, that took a lot of courage to do that, because everybody's going, why don't you just go along to get along? Because self-differentiation is not about going along to get along. Self-differentiation is that I deserve respect too, and my values and my beliefs. And I have to respect and value them first before anyone else is going to respect and value them. So we have to respect and value our own beliefs first. The person who asked the question that felt panicky that they might lose the relationship, I tend to think the relationship is already gone because you're in fear of losing it. It's already an unhealthy relationship that you feel you may lose. Many times we can gain a true relationship by being our true selves rather than being the pretend self, and I'll just pretend I believe what everybody else believes. Like if you're in a Roman Catholic family or a Baptist family or whatever, and maybe a Baptist has become a Methodist, or maybe a Baptist has become a Catholic, and then everybody's going, well, why are you in the Baptist church? All of our family's always been Catholic. That's horrible, and there's all kind of horrible things that will happen if you do that. You can pretend to be a Catholic and hide in the closet, or you can come out and go, no, these are my values and my beliefs. I don't hate the Roman Catholic Church. I've chosen the Baptist Church. That's what I have chosen, and I respect your beliefs about Roman Catholicism. I ask you to respect mine. We don't have to discuss it. We don't have to argue about it. This is just who I am. So we don't have to have arguments about it. In fact, I'm not even going to have arguments about it. I'm not going to do that. And if we baptize our children or baptize, don't get them, if we baptize them as teenagers or whatever, if you want to come, you can come. If you don't, then you don't. Having greater courage, as Brené Brown talks about in her books, having greater courage to stand alone is the work of self-differentiation as well, and doing that family of origin work. Can we stand alone in that work that we do? And it does take courage to do that. The downside is there can be anxiety, there can be fear, there can be worries. The upside is if we maintain it through the resistance of the family, as the family resists, then we can come out with a newer relationship on the other end. And that's a much more, could be a much more positive result. Another question someone had mentioned, I told my sibling I could not meet for coffee from our recent correspondence. I wondered if there was any room in the relationship for me. Is this declaring self? Now, because that's for coffee, I don't know what that word is. From our recent correspondence, I wondered if there was any room in the relationship for me. Is this declaring self? Well, and I'll just assume what the questioner is asking, and I really, and thank you for the donation. I think when, if we have siblings or friends or anyone where it's all about them, then there's not much room for us. What we can do is begin to be us in the relationship. And I see, Aisha, I see where you're saying she's overbearing. And if we're in a relationship where someone is overbearing, always talks about themselves, always talks about their life, we can accept, hey, that's the way they are. I would like to have a relationship in which I'm more a participant in it. I can ask them if they would be willing to do that. If they think I'm crazy, then I can go, well, that may not be the best place for me to have a close relationship, because they can't accept that I'm a part of this relationship too, or they're overbearing, or they have all the advice for me, or they're caretaking me, they're giving me unsolicited advice, or just talking about themselves the whole time. And that, you're right, the one-upmanship that we have in relationships. But I don't really enjoy being with folks or family of origin members who feel they need to be in a one-up position. Friendship is mutual. I think family of origin relationships should be mutual as well. Once you become an adult, parents are parents who are adults. I'm a child who's now an adult, and now we have an adult relationship. And I want to have a mutual relationship where we're both comparable in that relationship. And so I would look for that. I would also ask for that in the relationship. If they can't do it, And if you find she won't change, then you'll have to change. And what I mean by that is not just give in and give over. You can say, hey, I'm going to meet with her less. I'm going to communicate in a different way, email, letters, but I'm not going to just sit there and have it be overbearing or one-upmanship all the time. I don't want to do that. I don't want to have that relationship in my adult life. I don't have to reject her. I don't have to unlove her, but I certainly can limit that relationship because it's not a healthy one, and it's not an adult one. And I do believe that's declaring yourself when you're asking about, hey, there, and I might stop the sister sometime and talk with her and say, hey, there's a few things I'd like to share with you. Would that be okay? And then I would ask her if she would do that. If she does, then I would share with her whatever I wanted to share with her. Then if she's overbearing and has a one-upmanship, then I would say, you know, sis, this just feels really uncomfortable. And I'm not sure I'm enjoying this all that much. You know, I appreciate you coming out to coffee with me, but I may just need to do this less often because it's just not comfortable to me. I know you care about me, sis. I know that, but I'm just not comfortable with the way our relationship is patterned. Now, those aren't the words that you would use, but I'm trying to describe the dynamic of it. And you may just have to accept I'm going to have a real limited relationship with my sister because she just can't do anything but be one up and be better, one up, me one down, and is overbearing. I don't enjoy overbearingness. I don't enjoy one-upmanship. I don't enjoy that in relationships. Family of origin, friendship, and any relationship. Thank you very much for your donations, guys. I hope you'll continue. This is a good question. Someone asked, how do you know if your parents are just neurotic and not complete narcissists? What's the difference? I made that distinction, so I guess I should answer what I mean by that. When I think of neurotic, I think of somebody who is capable of changing. I think of somebody who is capable of some insight. I think of someone who's capable of some empathy. And I think of folks who and have empathy and insight, and may also have some capacity for guilt. If a parent or a family member has no capacity for any of those, that's probably a more psychiatric type of family member. Personality disorder, mood disorder, other kinds of problems, psychopathological disorder. Those are difficult to work with in a straightforward way, or even a playful way, or even a paradoxical way. Those folks are difficult to change because they don't get it, and they're not going to get it. A neurotic person could get it. They may be covered over with other issues or reactivity, but they could probably get it. And they could have some sensitivity and connection to other people. If you're narcissistic, you don't really connect with other people. You connect with other people through power, control, and non-empathy, non-guilt. You connect with no empathy in those kinds of ways. So if someone has those kind of traits, then you might want to take a look at, and there are traits online that you can take a look and see if you might have a parent who is narcissistic. And there are a lot of narcissistic parents out there. Believe it or not, there's a lot of narcissistic children and adult children as well. So I hope that answered maybe the differences I see between the two in neurotic versus narcissistic. Another question, should we always make a pause before acting? Because I'm in the work of always trying to process my emotions and then responds, but I lose a lot of spontaneity. It is because I just have begun the work. Well, I think if you've just started to begin your work of self-differentiation, and again, I think it's many times good to pause and take a break if the interaction becomes reactive, if the interaction becomes overly anxious or overly tense. Because if we're overly anxious and if we're overly tense, and if there's overreactivity going on in the relationship, probably much of what you're going to do is not going to be helpful. So you might as well take a pause and say, I'll come back to this, or let's talk about that tomorrow, or I'll talk to you in a couple of hours. That can be done with spouses, and that's the process of slowing down the process. Because relationship processes go by so quickly, we can be blinded in the dynamics. So we want to really slow that process down, so that we can get ourselves under control. And that's really what I'm trying to do. That's what you try to do with someone who has anger problems. The first thing you want to help them with is to slow down the process, rather than just it rolling down the hill and becomes a bigger and bigger ball or snowball, and then we explode. We want to slow the process down so we can intervene sooner and change the dynamics before it gets more reactive or more difficult. So I think the same is true on self-differentiation work. We want to slow that process down. Now you're right, it does, as they mentioned, it does lose a lot of the spontaneity, but much of our spontaneity can be reactivity, and that's not helpful. So spontaneity is important in some ways and not important in others. I like to be spontaneous, but if I'm in a troubled situation, I want to be careful about being spontaneous. Because I'd like to be intentional, mature, and adult, not just spontaneous and unwittingly immature and unknowingly reactive. I hope that helps. I have another question. She sang and asked to sing. It conveyed my new hope, but also conveyed deep pain experience. Is that too intense oversharing? That she sang and I asked to sing. At the end of a once-a-month chat with my narcissistic mom, she sang and I asked to sing. It conveyed my new hope, but it also conveyed deep pain experienced. Is that too intense of oversharing? Well, I think it depends on what you were sharing and what the result of that was. I think the proof is in the pudding. And what was the end result of doing that intimate singing or intimate sharing? And again, if you have a narcissistic mom, I'm not sure how open she is to those kind of tender or warm or vulnerable aspects. I see she was uncomfortable, but she listened. Well, hey, if she's willing to listen, then hey, that's some inroads. If she's willing to listen, then I don't think there's anything wrong with doing that. And I have been vulnerable at times with people that I didn't think were very healthy, and sometimes it has worked out well. So I think it's how courageous and how brave you're willing to be, that you may get a negative response, but if you can handle that, then you can be more vulnerable. And if you can handle the negative response, then hey, I can do that. And I think the more mature I become and the more mature other people become as they grow up in a self-differentiated way, the more they are able to risk with less negative effects to themselves. In other words, I can stand up and say something, and it doesn't matter what everybody thinks or even what everybody says. It doesn't matter to me. I'm more detached, so I can risk more and risk more of myself because they're not able to, I'm not absorbing them anymore. I'm observing them. And I've talked about observing and absorbing many times. So we want to be able to observe them. And if you're observing them, then, hey, I can be very vulnerable with somebody who might be not very healthy. Because it's not going to damage me. It's not going to upset me. I have, well, let me do a couple more myths about family of origin work. I hope you'll consider donating today to Jerry Wise Relationship Systems so we can do more videos and put them up more often on different topics. I have a lot of topics I'd like to do. There are many topics people have asked me to do. And I'm asking you now, if you want me to do a topic, you can send that topic to me. I hope you'll consider donating to help me spend time doing that. Because again, they do take hours to create and hours to put up. Myths about doing family of origin work, and I've got a couple other questions here I'll follow up with. Means that you must stay in contact with a toxic, narcissistic family member or abusive family of origin. No, that's not doing family of origin work. You can do the internal family of origin work with a coach or a therapist, one of my team that I have available as well. You can do that internal work, and you don't have to go through the barrage of abuse or toxicity that a narcissistic family member would bring. However, it's interesting how that narcissistic family member affects us and how we view them once we begin to grow up on the inside. We really, as we begin to grow up on the inside, that it changes how we view some of those unhealthy family members. We feel much less vulnerable to them and much less of a target for them. Another myth is doing family of origin work is about relating to my family of origin to make them the family I always wanted. Well, that's one of the myths we definitely want to give up on. Trying to make our family the family of origin we've always wanted. Making them the family we always wanted is a myth, and it's a dream. Though we can spend an awful lot of our lives trying to do that, to adjust, to change, make them like us, make us accept us, giving them advice, telling them how they should be, how they should stop this or stop that, and we're trying to get them to be the family that other people have. Our family is our family, the way they are. Now, families can change, but the most important thing is for me to change, not for them to change. And when people come to me, they always want to figure out ways in which they can change their family. Well, I don't know of any ways. They're not here. We can't talk with them. Though I'm going to talk about the side effects of how your family can change by you working on you in just a moment. Well, and here's one of those points that if I do family of origin work, I'm going to make them change by me changing. That's not the same as doing self-differentiation, family of origin work. That's staying stuck in the family while pretending to do family of origin work and pretending to do self-differentiation work. We don't change to make other people change. Though it is true, if we change, it does affect the system. It's like taking, a puzzle that's all cut up and they all fit together just nicely. If you take your puzzle piece out, which is yours, which is you, all the rest is your family dynamics and all your relationships. And if you shape this puzzle piece differently and then stick it back in, it doesn't fit as well, and the other pieces have to adjust and shift around you. Just like in a mobile where everything is hooked up and you click, you pull one part of the mobile, it shifts all the others. Well, that does seem to be the case in family systems work and family of origin work. If you change, it does change the whole family. But you're not changing to change the whole family. You're changing to change you. It may change the whole family. We'll see whether that happens or not. Families are resilient for staying dysfunctional. But sometimes calmness can be contagious. Non-reactivity can be contagious. Stepping up and declaring yourself can be contagious in a family and can produce good results. But that's not why we're doing it. It would be a side benefit, a side effect of what we're doing. Another myth people have is, well, if to do family of origin work means that I have to be in therapy or in coaching for 12 years to deal with my family of origin. Well, yes and no. I believe family of origin work and self-differentiation work is a work for a lifetime. It takes it for a lifetime. And we spend that doing for the rest of our lives. We may do that with a coach, or we may do that on our own. And I believe even the people that I've worked with some folks that have had 3 sessions with me. And they said they've learned more in 3 sessions than they did 5 years with previous therapists because of the family systems approach that I take and the self-differentiation approach. They learn more, they were able to change more. You can see that on the testimonials on the website that I have. And again, it's not because I'm such a genius. I'm not. I'm pretty so-so intelligence, so-so look, so-so kind of person. But I have learned something about family systems and self-differentiation can help people with that. And that very small changes within the family of origin can result in big changes for you. So I think that's the positive thing about doing family of origin work. I've got a couple of questions here I don't want to miss. I'm 19, living with narcissistic parents, and now that I understand self-differentiation, whenever I practice it in the family systems, I get funny, nasty looks and feel uncomfortable. How do I cope? Well, you want to cope with you, and you want to learn to reduce your discomfort, and you want to learn to not care and to detach. And that can be done with the help of a coach, or you can do some reading in Jenny Brown, Growing Yourself Up, Andrea Schera, SCHARA, The Mindful Compass, Harriet Lerner, LER books can help you become less affected by your family's effect. They may be affected negatively by your selfness, which often occurs in family of origin. If nasty looks and funny looks are the worst that you get, I would think you could tolerate that reasonably well, because they're not going to just love you for being a true self, because a true self would certainly challenge the shame and the personality disorder of a narcissist. In terms of coping, I would want to work on strengthening my own sense of self-confidence, my own self-image, my own self-awareness, become more self-aware, more self-defined, and more self-regulated. And those are the 3 things that we work on in family self-differentiation work. 19-year-old, I hope that helps some. And then hopefully you're able to move out from your parents' house if you're 19. Hopefully you'll be able to do that and be on your own. And then they can decide what kind of relationship they were going to have with you, and you can decide what kind of relationship you want to have with them. I have a couple of questions also. Is forgiveness necessary for true healing, and how can one do it? And I think that's an excellent question. And as I've said so many times, the how questions often end up being turned into better questions if they are when questions. When am I going to be ready to forgive? I believe forgiveness is for us, and forgiveness helps us to let go of them. We can do a funeral, an intentional funeral for someone, or for some, excuse me, or for some event that has occurred that has been abusive to us or toxic or difficult. And we can say goodbye to that event. And so we may want to say goodbye, which is a form of forgiveness. I've had traumatic events in my life, and and someone has been, was actually terrorizing to me, and that it will be important for me to forgive them for my sake. I hope they are well, and I hope they do well. If they don't, that's not a part of my life that I choose to worry about. I worry about, I want to let it go, and I want the trauma to be out of me. And so I want to work on getting myself ready to forgive. And one way to get ready to forgive is to say 100 times a day, I'm not ready to forgive. And accept yourself for not being ready. I am not ready to forgive that person. I am not ready to forgive that person. Because there is a choice involved. But for whatever reason, you're stuck emotionally in not being ready to forgive. You also may want to take a look at, if I forgive them, what would be the downsides? What are the bad things that I feel would happen if I forgave them? I know for me, forgiving my trauma perpetrator, for me, forgiving them was, well, then I won't be on my guard all the time to make sure I don't get traumatized again. So in other words, I'm telling myself, you can't take care of yourself or be safe unless you're always 100% vigilant and always keep this as a negative event in your life and not forgive. That's not a very healthy state or mental state to remain in. And it doesn't really keep you safer. Because I want to be healthy and whole, aware, not naive. And it also, I think, if I forgive them, then I will become naive. No, I can learn to be not naive while also forgiving someone who has hurt me. A question: how can an empath stop oneself from absorbing heavy and toxic energies from family members, whether in their presence or not? Excellent question. And in fact, I want to do, and I hope you will continue to donate. There are a couple of topics that I've really had a lot of people would like me to work on, and I'm asking you to make a donation today using the donate button, or you can donate at PayPal, jwlearning@hotmail.com. And I will do some more of these videos. There are two topics. One is on attachment theory and attachments and self-differentiation work. That's one video. Another one is empaths and how do they self-differentiate? What is, what are the benefits of self-differentiation? And I think when an empath, and I consider myself empathic, if not an empath. That's what I've kind of been all of my life and had to learn to be, and could read faces and definitely be attuned to the feelings of others in a very highly acute way, which can have a negative effect if I'm codependent. It can have a positive effect if I'm a coach or a therapist, because it's good to be sensitive to other people, but oversensitivity can be a problem. And I believe that working on becoming or reducing those toxic energies and that absorption, and what we do is work on controlling our absorption. I understand that we do pick up a lot of things from other people as empaths, but we want to reduce the absorption. Now, I could talk about that more today, but that would be a whole hour session or more to do that. But that's, I think, gaining more detachment is what is important, so that I can work on having greater control of my empathness. And I have greater control of that and how it impacts me and how I'm an empath. I hope that helps. And I'd like to do a video on that. Please donate and I'll try to work on that video. And how to deal with the scapegoat role in family of origin. And that sounds like a video topic that would be an excellent one for me to do. And I have a lot of scapegoats whom I work with, and that's a really big problem for a lot of people, is being a scapegoat in their family of origin, and I'd like to address that in a video of its own. I would like to invite you to join the membership on YouTube, and just click join if you're on the browser version. I don't think you can do that on your mobile phone. You have to do that on a browser version of YouTube and not a mobile version. And you can click join and become a member on our YouTube channel. Doesn't cost very much, and it helps out with the expenses and the equipment, so that we can be live on Facebook and live on YouTube and have lighting and have better mics and all those things that cost and take an investment. One person asked, a lot of people don't like the terminology, that is, calling someone narcissistic, etc., calling someone a narcissist, and that terminology. It can be dehumanizing. I'm wondering your thoughts on this. And I agree. One of the things I try to do is, and if you're a therapist, if you're a psychologist, if you're a coach or whatever, many times you will talk about diagnostic categories, which as a shorthand for what's going on. We certainly want to avoid it being weaponized. We don't want to weaponize, well, you're just a narcissist. Well, you're just a codependent. That's weaponizing diagnoses. And I try to avoid that as much as I possibly can. And people will come to me and say, what do I do with, I have a narcissistic father, what do I do with that? Well, probably the last thing you want to do is go tell him he's a narcissist. That's probably not going to be helpful. What you'll want to do is relate to him by how he behaves, thinks, feels, acts. That's how you want to relate to him. If you consider that narcissistic, if he figures into the diagnostic categories or symptoms that way, then you can use that for your own shorthand, but we don't use that in person-to-person interaction. You know, I don't advise you go talk to your wife, honey, I love you, I know you're codependent, and da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Why should codependency even come up in that? You want to do a face-to-face real interaction with someone else without the diagnostic categories. One of the things I learned in graduate school, a couple of times I was in graduate school, and one of the things I learned was that if you want to cuss at someone, use diagnostic categories. And also Therapists will do that. And if therapists are mad or upset, they'll use diagnostic categories. Well, you're just being narcissistic. Well, you're just being... No, that's the therapist being upset and not dealing with the behavior or dealing with their relationship with them. They may have been triggered or reactive. I hope that helps in terms of my thoughts about that. I've got some more myths that I'd like to share with you. Please join our YouTube channel membership, and I hope that you'll donate today so I can work on more videos and provide more information for you. One myth is if we focus on our family problems, then that's what family of origin work is. Just focusing on your family problems. Excuse me just a moment. Yeah, I had to reach for something. And that's not particularly what family of origin work is. Family of origin work is not just dealing with the family problems. It's not dealing with, well, your mom hung up on you because you wouldn't tell her how much money you were making in your new job. It's about the family patterns and the process within the family of origin. And so we want to look at the process versus the content and all the little arguments and spats. Those can be indicative of what the process is and what's going on, but we really want to look at the patterns, not just the problems. I have people say, well, I tried doing family of origin work and it just didn't work. So really, family of origin work just doesn't work. And many times I will say, well, how did you do that work? What did you do? How did you go about it? Well, I was talking to a therapist. In my family, there was a time in which my brother broke my arm, and my parents did nothing about it, and we've never talked about it since. And so my therapist said, well, you need to confront your family of origin and tell them how you feel. So then he goes to Thanksgiving dinner, confronts his family, tells them how he feels, and guess what? Everybody freaks out, or everybody is in an anxious, attached, enmeshed silence of disapproval, and it's awkward and crazy. And then he goes, see, I tried that. Now my relationships with my family is worse than they've ever been. Well, I don't know that that was a healthy approach to family of origin work. Because family of origin work is not, how can you increase the anxiety in your family of origin? If that was the work you were doing, then you accomplished it. And unfortunately, the therapist wasn't aware enough to realize that. They thought you just need to stand up, drop the bomb, confront the family, and there, everybody will feel better, you feel better. Usually it just ends up enmeshing families even more, sadly. Another myth is people will talk about how, well, I think if I do family of origin work, isn't that just the same as me blaming my family of origin? And let me chew up a little glucose tablet here. And family of origin work is not about blaming your family of origin. It's about seeing your family of origin in the right context and putting them in their proper place in your life and in your past. It's not about blame. It's about awareness and family of origin awareness. Aware that your family has impacted you, but them impacting you is not the same thing as you blaming them. Because many times your family and your parents went through their process with their parents. Your grandparents went through their process with their parents. Great, your great grandparents, and on, so that you're kind of the product of 5 generations. These problems have been going on for a long time in families. That's not the same thing as blaming. That's becoming aware of how family of origins transmit intergenerational dysfunctional patterns and emotional dynamics. A question: how can I express my political, controversial, and philosophical beliefs with people that are reactive and very sensitive to them, even when I try to convey them calmly? Well, the only way you can express them is to express them. Who you express them to and why you're expressing them would be the next question. If I know someone is not able to have an adult-to-adult respect relationship with me and accept my views, even if they're different than theirs, then why am I bringing up these controversial and philosophical beliefs with them? It would be no different than, why don't, and this is a horrible analogy, but if I have a disagreement with cognitive behavioral therapy versus family systems work, of which I don't, I think they both can work together, and then I go to a 5-year-old and express that to them, what do you think the 5-year-old's going to do? They're going to just go on and play, ignore me. They may get mad. But why am I bringing that to them? They're not in a place that they want to hear my views on those things and may not even be able to understand them. And so many times I will stay quiet, not because I have to stay quiet, is because I am wise to stay quiet, because there's no sense. I understand there's no sense to bringing up those topics. They're not going to change, and they can't understand how I would like to talk about those on a mutual one-on-one, adult-to-adult fashion. And they're not willing and ready to do that, so I don't bring that up. I may have some disagreements with someone who is a Methodist, someone who's a Roman Catholic, but I don't make that my first point of discussion with them about, and if I come from a Protestant tradition and don't venerate Mary, let's say, and they bring up Mary, I don't need to make my point that, want to tell you I have different views about Mary than you have. Why do I have to bring that up? Now, if they want me to go and do veneration to Mary, now that's a different question. I may decline that gracefully and say, no, I would prefer not to do that. And by the way, I've been in Orthodox churches, Baptist churches, Methodist churches, all kinds of beliefs. I'm just using that as a sensitive kind of topic. And so even if you try to convey those beliefs calmly, that doesn't mean the system is ready for those beliefs or can accept those beliefs, even if they're done calmly. Because some people are already loaded for bear, and some people are already highly charged about those issues. You could talk to them as sweetly as you could possibly talk, and as calmly as you could. I mean, you can put sugar to make the medicine go down, and you can say, if there's a political discussion, somehow about right or left, and say, well, Aunt Mary, I love you very deeply. I've always been very close to you. I just don't share the same belief about your conservative beliefs, let's say, and I tend to be more on the liberal side of things. Now, that's about as soft as I could do it without going into detail and getting into arguments. And many times, all I have to do to say self-differentiated is, well, I just see it differently. And then I've maintained my sense of self. I just see that differently. I don't have to get into arguments with them because it's not gonna come out well. It probably is not gonna come out well because many times those sensitive topics are controlled by feel think, not thinking, but feel thinking. And that's why it's difficult to have that rational discussion about politics or religion or philosophy. It's difficult to have those discussions because they are pushed and generated by feel think. And if you don't deal with the feelings, you're not going to get to the thoughts and thinking, and you're not going to change them. I have another question. Is there a way to improve my memories on childhood? I'm trying to work through my childhood wounds, but I can remember too little, almost nothing. And I think that's an excellent question. I've had people do a number of things to work on mining and exploring childhood memories. Talking to siblings, talking to parents about our childhood, talking to aunts and uncles, talking to cousins, to get bits and pieces, particularly those who might be older than us and can remember when we were younger. We can go back to those places. We can go back to those places where we lived, back to those towns, and see what comes up for us, or back to a family home and see what comes up for us. We also may want to talk to someone. Dreams are another way to possibly get at some of that childhood material. I think also hypnosis has been used to a positive end. There are also ways in which the more we journal and talk about it, the more we kind of unfreeze those childhood experiences and that we've had. So the more we talk about those things to a coach or someone, we begin to listen and, we begin to remember things we may have forgotten, especially if it's a relationship that we trust. And we can talk to them and talk through, well, I just remembered this event. I just remember that event. And I have several clients who have a hard time remembering their childhood. And they've done that kind of work to do that. And just slowly doing that. You may also want to attempt meditation and think about you at that age. You may want to get pictures of when you were growing up and when you were a child, and take a look at those and see what those bring up for you. I many times have people send me pictures of them and their family growing up. There's often a lot that could be seen in just pictures alone. They tell a lot. I hope that's helpful. There are other ways as well. If you'd like to work with me or one of my staff, let me know. I hope you'll continue to donate to today's program as we're doing live with you. Another question, I still have to fulfill my end of the bargain and meet my parents face to face, but I don't like it. What should I do? I do have to fulfill my end of the bargain. I'm not sure what bargain you have with them. It depends on what is the purpose of meeting face to face. Are you talking about me suggesting you do face to face work with your family of origin? I have to fulfill my end of the bargain. I mean, you don't have to meet with your parents face to face. I think learning to be yourself with your parents face to face. I don't feel the transfer money matters. I don't feel like it. Oh, I see. Yeah. If you have agreed under a certain agreement that, hey, they have made amends or they have paid reparations to you for whatever reason, and their bargain was, but you have to meet with us face to face, and you don't want to do that, first of all, I would, and the donation information I do want to mention is either on the donate button, but you have to be on the browser version of YouTube to do that, or you can go to PayPal and put in my email address, jwlearning@hotmail.com. In fulfilling your end of the bargain, you could take someone with you so you have support. You also can keep the visit very short, and that you also are very clear about what you're going to accomplish and what the meeting is for. Is it to chat about something? Is it for them to just be in your presence for that period of time? You know, what is the purpose of this meeting? And that's clearly all I want to do, is just do the simple purpose of whatever I agreed to do in that bargain. I want to keep it at that. I could even negotiate, well, we did agree that we would meet face to face, but it's only going to be for 30 minutes. It's only going to be for an hour. It's only going to be for 15 minutes. That I'd like to have an end time to this meeting. But I did agree to do it. I don't feel like doing it, but sometimes we have to eat the frog. Sometimes we have to do first things first, and sometimes we have to keep our word. And that's why we have to be very careful about what we agree to in the first place. But I do like to keep my promises that I make. However, if someone is abusive or narcissistic or toxic or very dysfunctional, then I think they are breaking the rules of the contract, and I don't have to keep mine. If their behavior breaks the rules of civil, polite discourse and relationship, then I don't feel I have to keep that bargain. I hope that helps. Someone also mentioned on the chat, which I like it, one of the things I also, if people have trouble remembering their childhood, they can also look at what may be the purpose of me not remembering. What may be the purpose of me not remembering? And how does that serve me? Also, could there be a family of origin benefit? It benefits the family if you don't remember. That's another way to come around the back door to remembering childhood events. Well, we're coming to the end of our time. I have another question I would like to answer. Dad kept secret a recent intervention in which he accepted that he and Mom hurt me. Should he tell siblings, or should I tell them myself? Recent intervention in which he accepted that he and Mom hurt me. Okay. Should he tell siblings, or shall I tell them myself? Well, I think the preferable outcome would be to have your dad tell the siblings. I don't know why he wants to keep that secret unless he has shame, embarrassment. I'm not sure why he wants to keep that secret, that he and your mom hurt you, and that it would be appropriate for us to be authentic. If you were at the intervention, and if they made that clear in the intervention, I don't know that that's a confidentiality issue. When it comes to it's like this: if someone is physically abusive to me growing up, and it's a cousin, let's say it's a cousin, and they're physically abusive, I don't know that I owe them a confidentiality about that. And so if it has impacted me in a negative way and it's been hurtful or traumatizing, I'm not sure you get the right to have confidentiality. You know, that's, and because it's a significant part of my life, I'm not going to share it in weaponizing it, but I'm not going to feel like I need to hold it in confidence. And so I'm not going to keep it a secret and don't feel I need to keep it a secret. So if someone has said, no, mom and, dad accepted that he and mom hurt me, I can tell, hey, sis, dad and mom, admitted to that in an intervention that we had. And that's what happened. That was the facts. I'm not trying to put dad down. I'm just saying that's just what happened. As a matter of fact. And again, I think if it hurts us, and if someone is very damaging to us or hurting of us, I'm not sure confidentiality is what they get the right to have. And I wouldn't keep that. It's just like in other kinds of abuses. Oh, well, don't tell anybody that I hurt you. Well, wait a minute. I'm not going to sign up for that bargain. That's not something I'm going to do. Now, you may have to deal with the consequences or the outcome of that, but I've already had to deal with consequences and outcomes of you hurting me. Now, you may have to deal with whatever that poses to your image or how people see you, but you can recover and deal with that and make amends as well, just like I can. So I don't have to protect you in that way. We're getting to the end. I hope you'll donate today and help out the work that we're doing at Jerry Wise Relationship Systems. There are 3 things I want to share with you that I think might be of help here at the end. One is, with regard to your family of origin, stop trying harder. Trying harder is not going to get you anywhere. Start trying smarter. Read Jenny Brown's book, Growing Yourself Up. Call me for help. Email me for help. And I think there could be some better things that would happen. Instead of looking for answers to your questions, reframe your questions. Why do they do this? Changing the question, what part do I play when they do this? That's a reframing of the questions. And that's what family systems work helps us do. Because often our questions are dead ends, if you've noticed that and tried to work through family of origin issues. And then work on either or dichotomies, black or white, good or bad, all or nothing. Should I do A? Should I do B? Work on what are your options C, D, E, F. Because dysfunctional families and our immaturity keeps us in we can only do A, we can only do B. Often we're not free to do C. Get some help if you need to learn some C's about doing family of origin work. Well, I'm about talked out. I hope it has been a help for you today. I appreciate all of you who have joined me today. Thank you so much for everyone who donated today. Please don't forget about me. I'm getting old. I need some help in doing these videos. And many of you have been supportive in the past. I hope you will keep that up. And I want to thank you for watching. I hope you have a good day and be wise.